Come fly with me, let's fly away. If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come fly.
It's always a good time to roll out old blue eyes, but this week particularly so because transatlantic flights finally take off from Cork. And they have been a long time coming. For at least as long as I've been alive, it's been talked about, but never happened. Niall McCarthy is the chief executive of Cork Airport. It's a pretty big week.
It's a huge significance for the airport. The airport was started in 1962 and Transatlantic has always been a market that we've been at. And so this year we have two carriers starting. We have WOW Air are starting this Friday through Reykjavik on to 10 North American destinations. And we've Norwegian Air starting on the 1st of July into Boston, Providence. So this week starts it all off. WOW are starting into Miami, Montreal, Washington, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, Boston, Pittsburgh, Toronto and Chicago, all via Reykjavik. Fares are starting from 69 euro one way into Reykjavik and all the way to Miami. For example, 139 euro one way is the starting price. So there's great value to be had on North America from Cork. Washington is selling very well, which we didn't expect, but there's a lack of direct services into Washington. And so there's demand there that isn't being fulfilled. So we're seeing good demand in terms of outbound into Reykjavik. A lot of Irish people want to go to holiday there and onwards to the States. And we're seeing each of the US destinations, obviously New York and Boston selling well, and surprising ones like Washington also selling well into Cork.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. WOW doesn't really offer flights to the US because you have to stop over in Iceland and then get on another plane. In fact, a little birdie tells me that WOW Air have been somewhat surprised at the take-up from Cork to Reykjavik. Never mind the onward connections. For the start of direct flights, if we can call them that, we have to wait a little bit longer for the arrival of Norwegian, who are another new operator to Cork. Stuart is their spokesman. Yeah, interesting name considering he works in airlines. But how are the tickets selling, Stuart?
Well, we've seen a huge response from passengers across Ireland and in Cork in particular. Tens of thousands of tickets have been sold and we're all very much waiting for the countdown to the new flights to begin.
Tens of thousands, is it meeting your expectations?
I think it is. I mean, it varies across routes as you'd expect, but certainly from Cork in particular, there's been a huge demand. You know, Cork has never had a transatlantic flight in its 50-plus year history, so we were always expecting a significant demand, and so it's proved to be. So we're delighted with that response. What I would say is there's still plenty more affordable fares out there from Cork and from other Irish airports, so we encourage everyone to keep booking away, and we look forward to seeing them fly this summer.
Now, you'll remember Norwegian were involved in a battle with the airline unions in the States about flying from Cork and securing the appropriate licence. And when that row ended, a few people raised an eyebrow that it wasn't just Cork that Norwegian were going to fly from. On the same day, they announced flights from Dublin and Shannon and Belfast. Stuart says they are always going to fly from airports where they see demand.
Cork and Shannon were always at the top of our list. We always look at the areas where either there aren't any services or there's limited competition or limited choice. And Cork and Shannon tick those boxes perfectly. And we're delighted that we've been able to launch those routes, including, of course, the first ever transatlantic flights from Cork, which was one of our top priorities. But if there were opportunities to fly from other airports like Dublin and Belfast, then of course we want to look at those as well. We have existing operations from Dublin, and it was a natural opportunity to build on those. And from Belfast, Belfast recently lost its only direct transatlantic links when another airline pulled out of the airport. So that created a great chance to go back in and offer new services that give people in Northern Ireland that new route that they desperately need. So, the idea for us is to provide flights wherever there's demand, and we see demand at all of these airports.
Norwegian had also talked about flying Cork to New York. I asked Stuart whether that was still happening.
Yeah, the door's firmly open for Cork to New York. There's two issues that we face that we're working through. Firstly, the runway at Cork is a little bit shorter, and that does create some challenges for that New York service. The second thing, as I say, is that these routes are going to be operated on entirely brand new aircraft that's never been flown before. And it's only when we get our hands on that new aircraft in the summer and we learn more about its capabilities and what it can do, that's when we'll have a better idea of what other routes are possible from Cork, including places like New York. So, as we say, the door is firmly open to that route, and over the summer we'll have a better idea of if it's possible and when we might be able to launch that route.
Yeah, so right now it's not in the offing, but could potentially be.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. The priority for us was always to launch the first ever routes for transatlantic routes from Cork. We're delighted we've been able to do that with Providence, but it doesn't stop there. If we're able to launch other routes from Cork, we certainly will do, and the door is definitely open to that New York route in future.
The door is open, the runway's too short, the plane's not ready yet. Sounds like we're going to have to wait a little longer for New York. Does that disappoint Niall McCarthy?
Yeah, the Norwegian issue to New York, there's loads of demand. So when we do market research, we engage Red Sea, who people know they do all the research for the government and the political parties. So we engage Red Sea to talk to our passengers. And New York comes out as the number one destination, actually ahead of Boston. The challenge in New York out of Cork is logistics. So it's getting the right plane to go the right distance with the right amount of seats. And so the Boeing MAX is literally brand new. They've taken delivery of it in the last few weeks and they're testing it out. And so I think in the initial instance, it's not performing as well as they thought. So it's fine for Boston. No problem at all in Boston. New York is further from Cork. So they're not that happy with the range and the fuel efficiency for New York. But obviously there are other planes coming on stream. Airbus, the European aircraft manufacturer, are coming out with an Airbus 320 Neo as well. Airbus 321 LR. The Neo's in production, the 321 LR is coming. They all have longer ranges. So there's a number of options for operating out of Cork. We know once the market is there and once technology is improving that it's going to be fulfilled, probably in 18. So we're optimistic.
So Cork will get its first direct flight to the US to Boston. We just might have to wait a little longer for the second one. And in the meantime, there's always Iceland. Take it away, lads.
Krummisvar í klettagjá, kaldri vetrar nóttu á, verður margt að meini, fyrr en dagur fagur rann, freðin nefið dregur hann, undan stórum steini, allt frosið úti går, ekkert fæst við ströndur.
Yeah, I've no idea what that song is about, but it's nearly worth the plane fare to ask them for a translation. That is it from the second Red Business. My thank you to all my guests today. Remember, RedBusiness at redfm.ie if you want to take part. The podcasts go live every Wednesday. Thanks for listening.
Freyir fuglar geta, en þó leitir út mó, veiða hvergi lítur tó, hvað á hrafnar eta, sálaður á síður lá, sauður feitur garði hjá, fyrrum frár á verði, krunk, krunk, nafnar komið hér, krunk, krunk, því oss búinn krás á köldu sverði, krás á köldu sverði.
Red Business with Jonathan Healy. Combine all your lines of communication and simplify the game. Search Vodafone One Net Business today.